The army world was once again in an uproar over a seemingly simple statement, yet its meaning was profound. This time, it wasn't a pointless rumor, nor was it empty speculation, but rather words straight from Jungkook, words that immediately left fans speechless, wondering, was this the confirmation they'd been waiting for? It all started in a casual moment. No grand stage, no excessive camera work. Just a natural atmosphere as Jungkook talked about their daily lives, about routines, little habits, and how Jimin rested. But it's precisely in these little things that the truth often feels most honest. When Jungkook mentioned how Jimin sleeps, how Jimin prepares himself before bed, even the small habits he does unconsciously, many fans immediately felt something different. Not because his words were sensational, but because of the closeness he conveyed. It's impossible for someone to know such details without being very close, emotionally and in their daily lives. Questions immediately arose. Do they sleep together? Is this just a habit of fellow members living in the same room? Or is there a bond deeper than just being a group mate? But what made Jungkook's statement so sharp wasn't whether or not they slept together. What shook Jungkook was the way he spoke about Jimin. His tone was gentle, full of concern, as if he wasn't just observing but caring. He knew when Jimin was having trouble sleeping, knew Jimin's habits before bed, and even knew the little things that usually only those closest to him knew. For many fans, it wasn't about the room or the bed. It was about the routine they'd built together. About two people who had become so accustomed to each other's presence that even small details felt familiar. In the entertainment world, filled with busy schedules and immense pressure, having someone who understood your sleep rhythms was a rare comfort. Jimin had been known to have a unique bond from the start, from the way they sought each other out in a crowd, to how they always seemed at their most at ease when they were around each other. Jungkook's statement felt like a small puzzle piece that fell into place perfectly. It didn't explain everything, but it was enough to make fans' hearts flutter. Interestingly, Jungkook never tried to exaggerate the story. He didn't emphasize it dramatically. That's precisely what makes it feel so real. It's as if he's forgotten that what he considers ordinary to the outside world is something extraordinary. Is this confirmation? For some, it might not be explicit. But for many armies, especially those who have long followed Jungkook's journey, this is the most honest confession he can make without having to say anything directly. Because sometimes love, or at least the deepest bonds, aren't expressed through big words. It comes through routines, through small attentions, through simple knowledge like how someone sleeps. As this story continues, discussions among fans increasingly turn to something deeper, emotional comfort. Many armies realize that what Jungkook revealed isn't just a lighthearted story, but a reflection of a relationship that has gone through awkward phases, formal phases, and even the keeping your distance for the camera phase. In some of the old moments that fans brought up again, it was clear how Jungkook and Jimin often fell into the same rhythm. When one was tired, the other adjusted. When one needed to calm down, the other automatically relaxed. Sleep habits, often taken for granted, are actually the most honest indicators of a person's sense of security. And Jungkook, without realizing it, was revealing that. Fans began to recall small moments, Jimin seeming more relaxed around Jungkook, Jungkook often checking that Jimin was okay before going to bed, and even lighthearted jokes that showed how this routine had become normal for them. It all felt too consistent to be a coincidence. But what was interesting was that there were no exaggerated claims. There were no explicit confessions. That, in fact, was his strength. Jungkook's honesty felt natural, as if he didn't realize these details would be analyzed so deeply. He spoke as someone who is used to sharing space, time, and silence with Jimin. To some, this might simply be the dynamic of members who have lived together for years. But for fans who follow every gesture, every look, every subtle shift in demeanor, this statement feels like a slice of reality rarely leaked to the public. A reality where Jungkook and Jimin appear not just as idols, but as two human beings who understand each other's rhythms. The question, are they sleeping together, slowly shifts into a more meaningful one. How deep is their trust? Because sleep isn't just about a place, it's about security. about who can make you feel calm when the world is too noisy. And perhaps that's what keeps the story alive. Not because of the sensation, but because of the sincerity that feels real. Jungkook doesn't confirm anything explicitly, but he doesn't deny the closeness either. He simply shares a routine, and in that routine, many hearts feel like they've found their own answers. Ultimately, Jimin proves one thing again: not all truths need to be announced aloud. Some are enough to be felt. And as long as Jungkook and Jimin continue to show comfort with each other, both in front of the camera and behind the scenes, this story will continue, living in the interpretations, emotions, and love of the fans who faithfully observe every second. And as time went on, one thing became increasingly clear to many armies. What was being revealed wasn't about sensationalism, but about consistent patterns of togetherness. Jungkook wasn't spoiling a big secret, but rather demonstrating how healthy, close relationships are often revealed in the simplest things, things that even those in them don't realize are special. In the pressures of the idol world, sleep and rest are luxuries. Hectic schedules, long practice sessions, endless travel, all of these make sleep routines fragile. So when Jungkook talked about Jimin's sleeping habits, many fans interpreted it as a form of caring born of long-term companionship. He knew because he was there. He cared because he was used to caring. Jimin's own reactions, both in person and through body language at other moments, were also noteworthy. He seemed comfortable, not defensive, not trying to correct or avoid. This attitude, for many, is a sign of trust. Trust that what he shared wouldn't be misinterpreted by those closest to him, even if the outside world might interpret it in various ways. Interestingly, the discussion among fans began to shift direction. From, "Is this confirmation?" to, "Why does this closeness feel so safe?" Many noticed that Jikook never forced any narrative. They were simply present with each other, in laughter, exhaustion, and silence. And silence, as it's often said, is the most honest space in a relationship. Others recalled old moments when Jungkook instinctively sought out Jimin at nightfall, or how Jimin seemed to fall asleep more quickly when he was around people he trusted. These small details, when strung together, formed a story that needed no label. Because labels often limit, while feelings and closeness flow freely. At this point, perhaps the question of together or not is no longer central. What remains is a tacit recognition that their routines are intertwined, that there's a harmonious rhythm formed not in a day, but over years of togetherness. And that rhythm cannot be faked.